Welcome. Hi, my name is Mike Russo. I'm the CEO for Hercules Partners. We provide advisory and consulting services in the areas of operation performance, business strategy, and transformation. Now we spend quite a bit of time in the manufacturing space, especially supporting companies within the aerospace and aviation segment. What we're going to be launching today is a learning development series aimed at lean management. Now, let's just talk about lean management for a second. Lean management is a process that was developed several years ago by the Toyota Manufacturing Corporation in Japan, and many folks have learned from the processes and the learnings gained there, and those processes have made their way, believe it or not, all the way here into North America and around the world. So lean management is really a process. It's a process of going into an organization and looking at some of the waste that is within some of the back and front office processes. Okay, so let's break that down just for a second. So over time, right, we have companies that build their models and build their processes around different activities, and unfortunately what happens at times is waste builds within those activities. And what I mean by waste is those are non-value added activities that just get embedded into those processes, and what ends up happening, it makes those products or processes a lot more costly, because now you're doing things that really shouldn't be done through the process itself. So lean manufacturing or lean management allows you to, it has actually a set of tools that allow you to capture some of these issues that are within the processes and correct them from there. So our series is going to be developing, over time, but it's going to be really rolling out and talking to some of the tools and some of the capabilities of this management process, if you will. So this management process really integrates several things, right? It integrates people skills, leadership skills, and management skills, which are very key to how organizations want to run and how they would like their folks within those organizations operating. Okay. So our kickoff session is going to be, we're going to be talking about problem solving, which is one of the key tools and frameworks within lean management. So it's called A3 management process, and what how we got that term basically was it's a very logical approach towards problem solving, and there's various gates and processes that you work through as you work through a problem, and this system, if you will capture all of that, and it will allow the project manager, program manager, or midline manager, whoever's working those issues, to logically walk through that process and identify problems and gaps as you work your way through it. So with that, let's take a look at how an A3 looks like. Okay, so what we have that we're going to talk about right now is the A3 management process. Now, as mentioned earlier, we're going to have a series of these training lessons for lean management, but there's a couple pieces of terminology I need to share with you before we get into the A3. One is, in a lean managed environment, right, everyone gets together at a meeting place. It could be daily, it could be weekly, more than likely daily, and that's kind of like the meeting place, and we call that in lean Gemba. Okay, so in terms of a terminology, Gemba is where all problems are shared, things are talked about on a daily basis. Potentially, you walk away from those meetings with actions, and you come back the next day and you revisit those actions and probably create new ones from there. But that's where a lot of the interrelated conversations are going on, right, to feed this A3 management process. All right, so wanted to have you understand that, because I'm going to constantly be referring to Gemba, and Gemba is just a carve off of what we're trying to do here on the problem solving part. So we're meeting every day at a whiteboard just like the one here in back of me, and we're discussing our issues and our problems, right, for certain issues. So now we're going to talk about the A3 management process here. Okay, so let's talk about the A3 management process. All right, behind me here is a board that details out an A3 with all its processes. So as we work through this process, here we are. First box: reason for the action. Why are we even here, right? What is the problem? What are the issues around that problem, right? So get into more of the details. Step 2 here, initial state. Now the initial state really is your current state, right? So what does the current state of the problem really look like? You might get into the details a little bit more, breaking out that issue, whether it's a cost type figure, or it's a little bit more deeper than that, where you have to really break out the details. Step 3 is the targeted state, and that is really where you want to be. That's the point that you want to get to, right? And that's what's going to control. That's what's going to hold your improvement. That's what you're trying to get to. Whether it's an increase in sales of 20%, it's a reduction of cost by 10%. That is your targeted number. Very, really important there. Okay. So as you get those 3 boxes filled out, right? You understand the problem, where you're currently at today, and where you want to get to. Then what that does is that it opens up the door to move into the analysis stage. It's the gap analysis. This is where you really actually dive into the details, right? You could use diagrams, fish bones, Pareto charts, anything that can explain that situation, okay? And once you get that all detailed out and you understand the gap between the current state and the future state that you're trying to get to, then you're able to then articulate and lay out actions or solution sets that you can go work, right? And the team can go work, actually, right? Because usually this is could be a cross-functional approach here, with several players, or it could be, a project manager working this particular problem or issue. So then as you get through the solution approach, you can move into, and this is an additional box that I actually put in there. It's a little different. It's called rapid experiments. And these are just ideas that the team has come up with that, would be pretty interesting to go work. Maybe they could develop some results. Maybe it would shed some light on this issue, right? And how to better work it. So that's rapid experiments, okay? So as we now move on from there, we'll then move into what we call our completion plan, right? We got all of our data. We've got our solution set. We've built that. We're working rapid experiments now. Now we're going to be coming to a point where we're going to establish those final actions and tie those final actions to a measurable improvement, right? Whether that improvement's going to be some bottom line result, a cost savings, an improvement in utilization and in machining somewhere, what have not, right? So one of those. So once you got that developed, then you're able to move into what we call the confirmed state. And all that is an action plan that actually lays out your current metrics and tries to track them over a 6-month period. Because really, the key here in this whole A3 management process, right, is we're driving for sustainability, right? How can we think we've got the answers to all the issues in this problem, but how can we test that and make sure it's happening? Well, the only way you can do that is by tracking the results, right? So that's what we're trying to do here in the confirmed state. And then finally, our last step is what I call insights, which is really as equally important as anything, because what you like to be able to do here is you've worked through the entire problem, you've hopefully gotten the result you're looking for, and you want to share those insights with the organization. So very important now, this tool is not only a tool to work through the problem, but it's also a tool that you can sell to senior leadership, to different folks in the company, to sell your case, right? And this is why this makes this so important to use, because it actually turns into a nice strategy, and a strategy that can be shared with everyone. So that's the entire A3. We're going to start working into the details behind the A3 right now. Okay, let's dive into the details now, or let's just go ahead and look under the hood, as some of my friends would say. And so let's look into the first stage here, where we actually have to document what the problem is, right? So here in box 1, where we're looking for reason for action, all right, this is where we want to really talk about what is the problem, right? So you probably identify what is the problem. Just give you a few examples as we go through. Let's say we're having a delivery issue, late deliveries to customer could be the problem, and you can detail that out a little bit of your findings behind that problem. It'll just give a little bit more granularity in terms of what that is, all right? And then as you identify that problem, you have a good hold on what you're chasing, you then want to lay out what the initial state is, okay? So remember, this is a logical approach that we're working through as we go through the problem. In the initial state, think of that as the current state, all right? You have a current state and you have a future state, right? Your current state is exactly what is the condition right now, right? What is the condition right now? That could be, let's use my same example, delivery issue, right? You could say that something along the lines that 60% of your deliveries are on time. So that means 40% of them are late currently, right? So once you identify that current state, then you would then try to formulate where you would like to take that to. Okay, so we've defined what the problem is, so we've got through the definition stage. We've looked at the initial state, what is our condition as of right now. And now we're going to be looking at the target state, okay? So here is where we would ask the question, what is an acceptable target, right? What are we striving for? Okay, what are we striving for? You know, what's that point? For instance, let's go back to that one example on late deliveries, right? So if we have 40% of our deliveries are late, that means our on-time delivery performance is sitting around 60%. Let's say we want to be sitting somewhere around 80%. So we want to grow that number from 60 to 80, right? So 80% would be your future state or your target state. Okay, let's go ahead and move into what I call the gap analysis, point 4. So again, we understood the problem, we understand the initial state and what the future state is going to be, or what we're striving to get to. And now what that leads us to, so we've pretty much understood our goal here. We're now trying to go and dig deep into the data and look at more of a gap analysis. So this is really where we plunge into the details, understand what we're currently doing today, then moving over and understanding if that future state is even attainable, right? That's what the data will prove out. Now you see a little term here I have, it's called PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, right? That is a tool, another lean management tool that sets the stage for, you set your plan, then you activate that plan, right? And then you control it, etc. Okay, so, and then you act upon that plan. So, very important step right here. We need to qualify what we're trying to chase, and you can lay in various detailed data such as Pareto charts, fishbone diagrams to explain your point a little bit further. Key area here, because if you're going to sell your problem and your solution to management, you'll need to understand your plan, right? What you initialized as a plan, and background data leading you to a potential solution, all right? So that's gap analysis. Once you've identified that gap and you got all your details together, you're then able to put together what I call countermeasures, all right? So your countermeasures are really some of the actions that you're going to work, either if you're a project manager, through yourself, or if you're on a cross-functional team, you'll assign different actions to different team members, right, to work. This is where you would do it. You'd isolate whatever the theme of the action is, what you're expecting to be an improvement, and obviously who owns that action right here, okay? So that takes you through gap analysis and then the solution approach. Okay, let's go ahead and work through our step 6, which is what I call rapid experiments. Now these are concepts that, as you're working through the problem, ideas could come up from the team of a potential thing to try, an issue that they came up through discussion through our session at the Gemba. And everybody remembers the Gemba, our meeting place each day that occurs, where we're talking about our projects and our issues and some of the actions that we're performing. Well, out of all that discussion can potentially come up some nice ideas around the sharing of that information, right? It happens at Gemba. It can be fed right into this problem-solving technique right here. So again, rapid experiments, other types of actions that you want to throw out there to go work that possibly could to help the issue as well. Okay, we've moved through the examination stage. We've worked through our countermeasures, etc. So some of our final action steps are going to be qualified here in the completion plan, where we're developing an action, who's going to be taking on that action, and what the future benefit is. Is it a margin improvement? It could be a cost benefit, other type of benefit improvement, and you would lay this out here with a specific end date, okay? Because if you're on a cross-functional team, there will be many actions out there, and you want folks to know what those closure dates are so they manage to those, right? And so all that information will be captured in this box right here. Okay, so now we're coming down the back stretch here. Now we're developing a final plan to track the results, right? To track those improvements that we've made. And as you can see in section 8 here, you're listed in the objective. The objective could be on-time deliveries, right? And that metric could be, driving it to 80%. 80% could be your target. Your base is at 60%. So then you would track your improvements, and you would track it over a period of time, typically a 6-month period, to see if it's those changes are sustainable, right? And they're ingrained into your expectation there. Finally, we'd move into the last section, which is insights. We're going to learn what we have performed and what we've gotten into in terms of this problem. We can share those learnings with different folks within the organization, and then finally the organizational learning, and that is the learning from when you're in a project like this. There's you're continually reporting up to leadership in terms of your findings. So there's management learnings, there's people learnings, right, on how everybody came together with the solution, in terms of the people that were involved in the project, and obviously there's leadership learnings, even for the leadership team, they can learn as well. So anyway, so that's how this whole 83 really works. 9-step process, again, very logical, a great tool for everyone, and again, look forward to future sessions as we move down the road in our learning development here. Okay, everybody, so I want to thank everybody for joining, and I hope you really liked what we had to share. Again, we're going to be pursuing this in terms of further videos around the lean management theme. Next video that will probably be released next week will be around Lean 101 Bootcamp, which would be great for folks who really want to get their feet wet and understand some of the terminology and some of the tools that are available in Lean. So again, if you like this, please put a like and subscribe, and I look forward to having future sessions with everyone.